We got breaking details this morning about the plane Canada is chartering to take Canadians out of the coronavirus epicenter in Wuhan, China. We know when it's set to take off. It's going to be Wednesday night, our time. Here are the details. Thursday morning, local time. It's going to stop in Vancouver on the way back to refuel. It is expected to arrive at CFB Trenton in Eastern Ontario sometime on Thursday morning, Eastern time. So again, our time. More than 300 people are hoping to get on that plane. The federal government is telling those who are eligible that they are just that, eligible, and they're not guaranteed that they should make alternate arrangements if they don't get a seat. One of the key tricky questions about minors, the instructions that Canadians have received today that unaccompanied minors are not allowed on the plane. They will have to travel with someone who has a Canadian passport, or if that isn't possible, a permanent resident or caregiver. There has been the authority. Chinese authorities have guaranteed Ottawa they will not split up families. But all of these rules are creating a little bit of confusion, to say the least, for my next guest. You've met them on our program before. Megan Millward and her husband, Zhang Liu, Montrealers who spent the Lunar New Year celebrations with family there in Hubei province and who have been stranded ever since. They are with me live this morning, and we're going to get their initial reaction. Number one, Megan and Liu, welcome back to our program. Thank you for coming back today.
Hi, Heather. Thanks.
Hi, thanks.
You got that email. I know just very shortly, a short order ago. As you're going through it, Megan, tell me what you're thinking, what your reaction is as you're reading these instructions.
Well, first of all, as you mentioned, it says that we are shortlisted, but it doesn't guarantee that there is a spot. Also, it didn't mention who, and so I called the emergency hotline in Ottawa to confirm whether it would be all four of us, because at the press conference yesterday, they did say that permanent residents with children would be allowed to leave. Apparently afterwards, maybe not, it wasn't published, but we were told that they corrected that and said actually only permanent residents who would be accompanying otherwise unaccompanied minors would be allowed to leave. So there's that, but we have been hearing a completely different story from the Chinese officials that we have been contacting here. They've said anyone that Canada puts on their manifest, they will let them out. So
They give us the examples from Malaysia.
Yeah, they gave us an example. We have it on by text message. There's a Malaysian citizen with a permanent resident wife, no kids, and the wife was allowed to go with him.
And the UK case, Australian case as well.
Yeah, apparently many permanent residents of Australia were also on the flight that had Australian citizens, and there was the UK man whose permanent resident wife and their newborn child who was Chinese citizen. They were all given permission at the last minute. They're the ones that didn't make the flight.
Right,
Okay.
and we contact the Chinese official. They say definitely, as long as it's on the manifest, you can go.
So, but in the meantime, based on what you're looking at from Canadian authorities, because you, Megan, are a Canadian citizen, it would seem to indicate that you should bring the children alone, and that you, Liu, because you're a permanent resident, they would not be unaccompanied, so you might be left behind. So is that kind of what you're feeling like? You're a bit in limbo with conflicting accounts this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we called the SOS and they tell us only 3 people on the list. So I'm not on the list.
You're not on the list. You know that for sure. You're not on the manifest.
Right, we called them just around
An hour ago.
Okay, so then what are you going to do?
Well, I don't know.
We're all going to go to the airport and we're going to talk to as many people as we can to try to get somebody to change their mind. Because if China says, yes, it's fine, he can go, why is Canada saying, no, it's not? Like, we don't know who has their wires crossed or who's fibbing, but it's really upsetting.
Yeah.
If both sides say they're committed to keeping families together, what's the problem?
Right. And we call the Chinese officials, the number is 24 hours, so you can access it. And everybody says, yes, you can go. And I don't understand why the Canadian side has a different version.
Okay, so as long as you get on the manifest, the Chinese authorities say you can go. So in these next hours, I anticipate you're going to be working pretty hard to get yourself on the manifest. I mean, I don't know this. I certainly can't speak on behalf of those who are organizing it. It may be a matter of space on the plane, Megan.
The email says that children under 2 are requested to sit on someone's lap. My kid turned 2 today. I'm willing to have him on my lap. We're even willing to have my daughter who's 6, on my husband's lap. We can take up 2 seats instead of the 3 that are technically allocated. It can't be an issue of space.
Okay, I'm listening to quite a different tone in your conversation from our last conversation last week, which was very much, you're taking it in stride and dealing with it there in family and waiting to hear. It seems like a very different dynamic this morning as now you have this in hand.
Well, yeah, last week I was frustrated that things are slow, but I'm Canadian and I give people the benefit of the doubt, but now I'm just mad. I don't know who I'm mad at, but there's something wrong somewhere.
And you, Liu, how are you doing as you process this too, figure this out?
It's quite tough, and and my 2 kids where we go with my wife, and I'm not sure if she can handle 2 kids at the same time. But I mean, for sure, we as a family we want to stay together. It's very hard right now.
Yes. Yeah, the email also said that there would be mental health support available during the 14 days. And I guarantee you, if I have both of my kids in a hotel room for 14 days without him, I'm going to need that support.
I want to look ahead for just a second. Let's leave the uncertainty for a moment about who's going to be on that plane. And before we get to quarantine, I mean, you told us last time we spoke how difficult it was, you thought, even to get to the airport. You're suggesting that all 4 of you are going to go in hopes, but how are you even going to get to the airport when there's so little transport?
We have a car that we had borrowed for the holidays anyway. My husband has a Chinese driver's license. He's going to be our driver because we've been requested to provide information on who's the driver, what's their ID number, and all of that. So he's the driver, whether in the end he can get on or not. And the email did have an attachment with a letter from the Embassy of Canada in China requesting that authorities give safe passage to the bearer of the letter. There are no names on the letter. It's just a generic one, but there's that. But also we've been in contact with the local authorities saying, hey, we're planning to go. This is all of our information. Can you also ensure that we can get through the barricades? So that'll work for the ones that are manned by the police, the ones where there are apparently tractors placed in the middle of the road to stop people from going by. I don't know if we'll encounter those on our particular route, but if we do, I don't know what we'll do in that case.
Okay, but at least barring that, this sounds like this is not the most concerning aspect to you. You did mention the quarantine, and again, in answer to this question, it probably depends on whether it's one or both of you who are able to be there for those 14 days. But what do you anticipate that is going to be like when you finally do return to Canada and have to go to the CFB Trenton with the children for that 14-day time period?
I mean, if he's with us, it'll be fine. We looked at pictures of the facilities and they look totally fine. And there's going to be medical staff and we're going to have food and et cetera. I am assuming we're going to have access to washing machines because we only have 1 carry-on bag per person. So that's not a lot of clothes, but I'm really not worried about the 14 days there. Okay. I think it'll be fine.
Everybody in the family feeling okay? Is everybody feeling okay? That's a key.
Medically, yes. Yeah, still no symptoms.
Okay, that's really good to know. Obviously, a whole lot going on, though, as far as what is to come in these next few hours. Megan and Liu, thank you very much again for this conversation. We're going to stay in close contact. We'll find out what happens next for you. Thanks very much.